Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Today is March 9th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 69. Nice. Today we're going to be talking about History Bee, solar-powered farming impact, a reason for automated flights, involuntary untakeoff, a snowmobile did what now? Of course, prices go up in smoke. Stop technology-driven AI. What? Lost a door and the work records. From train station to headquarters, and collectible car market of EVs. That and a lot of talk. Next. Hello, hello, I am Merwad. Up there is the sentient AI's visualizer. You want to say hello?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
And that is ohmTown.com. That's what powers all of our shows. We're now up to 5. 2 more are planned. We will probably announce that in 2 weeks. So stay tuned. Be sure to follow us here over on YouTube, download the podcast, just do a search for ohmTown, and you'll find 3 currently. 2 more about to land next week will get turned into a podcast. And a week after that, we will probably be adding 2 more. Dun, dun, dun. So stay tuned. Pretty exciting. We're expanding the library of shows. Each show outside of ohmTown Daily News Show is more niche. So be sure to follow us. And then maybe you'll find a show that you really like and you'll follow that show. Other shows are weekly. ohmTown Daily News Show is the only one that, well, hey, it's in the name, daily. So let's get into today's articles, and I actually didn't do this right, so let's see if I can make this happen. Nope. Okay, I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. Because I did not do this right, we're going to do it like this. So every time you follow a link in the main news feed, it'll take you to an article, a post, a comment. And this one is Bee Expedition Rewrites History, 8 New Species Found in Pacific Canopies. And then you click that link and it takes you to the show. Or the
This is
article.
good news because everything we hear about bees is that they're at risk.
Colony collapse, etc., etc. Yeah. Well, this one's over at SciTech Daily. Bee Expedition Rewrites History, 8 New Species Found in Pacific Canopies. Now, these are bees that you wouldn't normally see. They're not your standard honey bees. This is by Frontiers, again, over at SciTech Daily. Let me throw this link into the chat so you can follow it there. Future shows, I will set it all up so that we don't follow the links individually. I just didn't do it for this particular episode. So scientists have discovered a previously unknown species radiation of masked bees, which is restricted to the tree canopies of Pacific Islands. It says in 1934, Elwood Zimmerman, an American entomologist, not etymologist, but entomologist, who was an undergraduate at Berkeley, took part in the Mangarevan expedition to Polynesia. He collected samples that included 3 small orange-brown solitary bees, which were discovered on Tahitahi flowers in the Tuamotu archipelago. So the specimens rested undisturbed in the Bernice P. Bishop Museum of Honolulu until 1965, when the famous bee specialist Professor Charles Michener examined them, and he described them as a species new to science, Hylaeus, I guess, Tuamotuensis, or Tuamotu's masked bee in the family Callididae. Call it a day? Call it a day. So, how these tiny bees reached French Polynesia is a mystery. Its nearest known relatives lived in Australia, New Guinea, and New Zealand, more than 3,000 kilometers west of Tuamotu. What's more, the new species had never been collected again and was feared extinct until present day. So they went back for another expedition and they found 8 more, or 7 more at least.
Species, right? Not
Species.
individual bees.
Yeah, right. 8 new species found in Pacific canopies. So are these going to be the same level of pollinators as honeybees, or are these just bees, classified as bees? So they're new to science. Yeah. 8 new species of this particular, I guess, genus, right? Hylaeus.
Well, Hylaeus in general are important pollinators, but I don't know if this particular one is.
These particular ones are. Yeah, these are not the standard honeybees. They have the same color characteristics, but not the same body. They look closer to wasps than they do bees. But I guess if they are all pollinators, then, well, heck, half their name. Look, Polynesia. Maybe they're pollinators. Different spelling, but okay. 6 of the newly discovered species are from Fijian archipelago, named the straight-faced little yellow spotted and Navais hylaeus from the island of Vitu-Levu, and the white spotted open-faced and Veles hylaeus from Tavauni. And there are several others. Yeah, this is pretty interesting, right? The team was only able to discover the new species by sampling from the tree canopy on the islands. Previous sampling efforts had focused on flowering plants at ground level, which the new species seemed to avoid. Well, I mean, why would they come down to the ground where it's further away from just open skies and not having to weave around and whatnot? I don't know.
Maybe if they're safe in the canopy or they like the plants there.
Yeah, exactly. So they say also surprising was that the new species seems to prefer red flowers, as the sensitivity of most bees to red light is poor. So maybe they've got different optics,
Very interesting. We had another article about that.
Oh, really?
I thought we did about, or maybe it wasn't entirely focused on that, but I think there was some detail in one of the articles about that.
Oh, insects, bees having, right. Yeah, their type of, they don't have certain cones or something like that, certain rods. So how did they hop between islands? Their typical flight range is unknown, but likely only a few kilometers. So how did they get there? Nobody knows. Most mass bees nest in wood. It's likely that they rafted between islands, especially when tropical cyclones wash masses of plant materials down rivers and out to sea. Can you imagine you sleep on a log one day and the next day you're thousands of kilometers away?
No.
Yeah.
I like that the researchers called them little bees. Like, seems like they're almost treating them as
little yellow spotted. Yeah.
Right.
It's funny. But they look like, from their side view, they look like wasps. But they have the coloration. Mostly it's black, right? But they have that kind of golden bronze color of a honeybee. But yeah, they definitely look more like wasps to me. And I'm not a fan of wasps. All right, let's keep going. We will keep on going through these links. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be kind of slower than normal. There we go. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Solar-powered farming is quickly depleting the world's groundwater supply. Farmers in hot, arid regions are turning to low-cost solar pumps to irrigate their fields, eliminating the need for expensive fossil fuels and boosting crop production, but by allowing them to pump throughout the day, the new technology is drying up aquifers around the globe. So this article's over by Wired. I'm not sure if it's going to let me. I didn't log in, but I do have a Wired account.
So that's interesting. So it's like it's solving one problem but creating another.
Right. Kind of brutal. There's really not much more to say about this. the summary of this is what we would talk about. It's kind of in the title, for crying out loud. But yeah, and there's actually situations like this, like domestically in the United States, and I'm sure if you look through your country, your region, you'll find them too. But in areas where it's supposed to be desert, they're using technology to kind of short circuit the natural order of things. And because the land is really good for a particular type of crop, they're unnaturally amplifying the natural setting. They're growing, for instance, almonds in a place where the air is great for growing almonds, but the ground is not suited for it. And so they're drying up the aquifers, pouring it all over the ground. It's evaporating at great amounts, but you're still getting almonds by the, millions. Instead of going to the region where the almonds should be grown more in synchronicity with nature. So that's not how it works. So that is the effective extraction limit of the pumps. So they're talking about it up above. There's little rain to replace the water being pumped to the surface. In places, the underground rocks now dry down to 400 feet below ground. That is the effective extraction limit of the pumps. Many of them now lie abandoned to keep up in what amounts to a race to the bottom of the diminishing reserves. Richer farmers have been buying more powerful solar pumps, leaving the others high and dry or forcing them to buy water from their rich neighbors. So water wipeout looms, and not just in Rajasthan.
Well, this sounds very similar, though, to what happens with the disparities. I'm thinking of like the large farms versus the small farms, not necessarily based on solar power.
Yeah, basically the people that have the economic advantage either price out or technologically eliminate the competition. And in several places, you find out that that's exactly what they've been doing, drawing water to the point where it truly does force out just the regular lifestyle type businesses, the farmers that have been there for hundreds of years, since time immemorial, really. Can't say too long, because here in the States, we've only been around for 275 years. But anyway, yeah. So these solar pumps are short-circuiting nature by using the sun and technology to draw water from which they couldn't normally draw water, except by very expensive processes like bringing in diesel fuel to power diesel pumps, fossil fuels, much more expensive. So I guess solar is a win for carbon footprint, and greenhouse gases, but then it's killing the land that it's plugged into. So pretty brutal. There's more over here at this article, but let's keep on moving. I hope that you follow these links. And did I already throw that in there? Yeah, I threw it in there twice. That's okay. So let's go on to the next article. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. The captain and co-pilot of an A130, an A320 fell asleep for 28 minutes during a flight to Jakarta.
What I'd like to know is the time frame for the entire flight.
Yeah, so let's find out. Maybe it actually says it. They fell asleep for nearly 30 minutes. One of the pilots said he suffered from poor sleep the day before the flight, the report said. The plane was carrying 153 people, landed safely in the Indonesian capital of Jakarta. The incident occurred in January on a return flight from Kendari in the Indonesian province of southeast Sulawesi, in the country's capital, Jakarta. So, yeah, like always, click the link. It takes you over to, this one is Business Insider. Cameron Manley is the author. Did I say who the author was of that other one? Fred Pierce. Fred Pierce is the author of The Solar-Powered Farming is Quickly Depleting the World's Groundwater Supply. Sorry about that there, Fred. So the article over in Business Insider is by Cameron Manley. So let's see, how long was the flight? I guess Indonesia has its own NTSB sort of thing, the National Transportation Safety Committee was informed of it. So around 45 minutes later, the captain woke up and offered to let the co-pilot 28 rest, but they declined and the captain fell back asleep.
I just looked up, it could be roughly 2 hours and 40 minutes.
So for 30 minutes, they both were asleep, but at one point, one was asleep for almost an hour. After waking them, the captain answered another pilot's call and air traffic controllers claiming they had suffered a radio communication problem. The plane later landed in Jakarta without any further issues, but apparently they were actually asleep. So I think that we really should enable the technology for fully automated flights, take off and land, just push a button and then everybody can sleep. Just make it perfect.
Right. I mean, I think when we were talking about something similar previously, we were saying it might be better to have some pilots, but now I'm not so sure. Like some human pilots.
You're really quiet again. I'm sorry. So it's designed to help manage fatigue and improve safety. These on short haul flights, such as Batik Air flight, which takes roughly 2 hours and 40 minutes. Controlled rest periods are more common, where one pilot can briefly catch some shut-eye while the other continues monitoring controls. But apparently they both fell asleep. It's one of the reasons why I say that automation is really going to kick humans' butts, because we're going to invent technology that, again, short circuits nature, and instead of seeking a better quality of work-life balance, humans are going to get pushed right on out, and profits are going to win because it's going to be fully automated. You don't have to worry about somebody falling asleep because the system is going to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not complain that, they got in a fight with their significant other and was up all night, or they got drunk the day before, or they're just dumb. But whatever it is, humans are fallible. So are our creations, but not at the rate like this. You don't fall asleep. Computer systems don't fall asleep.
So this is odd. I didn't get the time frame from this article. I pulled it from another source. However, there might not be a lot of competing airlines between these two cities.
Yeah, it works though, right? Roughly 2 hours. Well, you said like 2 hours, right?
I said 2 hours and 40 minutes from Google Flights.
I think they did too. Now we know what their source is. Okay, let's go on to the next article. Okay, hold on a second. I'm really sorry for the production value is kind of low today. As if we can get any lower, but hey, whatever.
There's can only go up.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm telling you, airlines are having their allergic to tracks train moment, but apparently it's just airlines are allergic to being in the air. United Airlines flight makes emergency landing in LA due to hydraulics issue. This one is the Airbus A320 jetliner, which is the same as the one from the previous article. Not the same one, but the same model. Can't be too surprised. Airbus is a huge production. But flying from San Francisco to Mexico, landed safely at LA International Airport around 4:30 p.m. Friday, according to the FAA. The flight had 105 passengers and 5 crew members diverted to LA after an issue with the aircraft's hydraulic system. So normally they want to stay in the air. Philip Tumatia is the author.
Yeah, but their parts don't always want to stay in the air.
No, they're allergic to the air. So no allergies, no injuries, but still could have been worse. The most recent event comes hours after passengers on a separate United Airlines were forced to evacuate after Boeing 737 in Houston rolled into the grass when exiting onto a taxiway.
And that one we featured in yesterday's show.
Yeah, and then that actually follows on the heels of another incident of a plane flying in Japan on Thursday lost a tire.
Which we also featured.
goodness. That's okay. They don't really say what happened. They just say that the hydraulic system failed and needed to land. So, but the hydraulic system is what's in charge of like the flaps and ailerons.
Right,
and
it's kind of important.
Yeah, you might need it right around the time you need to land. But hey, it landed and it did the important business. So let's go on to the next article. This next one is shocking simply at the title. We haven't read any of this. So a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter hit by a snowmobile, and the rider is suing the government for $9.5 million, according to a report.
Okay, so wait a second. The snowmobile hit the helicopter, and the snowmobile party is suing the other party.
Yes. Now, this isn't the most absurd. I've heard reports about criminals breaking into apartments or houses, and the criminal sues the homeowner because of something that was set in place.
Right, like they get injured or something like that.
Yeah, they trip over a Lego or something.
But I am having a hard time figuring out how a helicopter and a snowmobile would come in contact with each other.
Well, that's a bold question, Cotton. Let's find out. A man is suing the government for $9.5 million after he crashed into a Black Hawk helicopter. Jeff Smith collided with the helicopter while riding his snowmobile on an evening in March 2019.
Of an unspecified date.
Yeah.
It's one day, but nobody knows when.
The U.S. Army has attempted to dismiss the case. Probably should for cause, but let's find out. Rebecca Roman over at Business Insider put this article together. This is just a regular photograph. I don't think that it was...
No, that's the damaged one.
Wait. Oh, it is the damaged Black Hawk helicopter.
Business Insider, I have to give them kudos. They always have very tailored photos. No, and especially when it's very specific, right? Like, it would be enough to have a Black Hawk photo here, but this is the Black Hawk.
The Black Hawk. Wow, the damaged Black Hawk helicopter. It's a photograph provided by the attorney, Douglas Desjardins, I guess, via AP. So
okay, this is interesting. So the attorney's getting the photo credit. Or, well, actually, no, maybe the Army took it, but the attorney gave it to the press. Correct. Or something.
Yeah, it's a U.S. Army photograph. Okay, so where did they hit it? I'm really curious. Okay, maybe the article will say they crashed into the Black Hawk helicopter while riding a snowmobile. Let's see. Oh my goodness, losing the use of his left arm and having been unable to return to work full-time since, per the report. What?
But the key question is he participating in a Christmas tree throwing competition?
There's no evidence of that yet, but give it time. It's only been 5 years. My gosh. So he collided with the tail of a Black Hawk helicopter while riding his snowmobile on an evening in March 2019, losing the use of his left arm and having been unable to return to work full-time since. Wow. So I don't understand. Smith's case is that the Black Hawk crew was negligent in parking the stealth helicopter on a seldom used airfield that snowmobilers also used, adding that it did not warn them about the aircraft's presence.
Okay, now notice the description of the area, right? It's an airfield. It's not a snowmobile course or something.
Right. It's not a downhill anything. It's not a pathway for snowmobiles, but it's seldom used. Apparently, the military is supposed to notify everybody of where their stealth helicopters are.
Exactly. They might not want to notify where their stealth helicopters are.
Our argument from the beginning has been that it's incompatible to have a helicopter land on an active snowmobile trail. Except that it's not.
Right. I mean, and that's what I thought initially when I saw the headline. I thought maybe the helicopter for some reason was in a path that it shouldn't have been in, but that doesn't sound like that's the case here.
So really, here's the problem. It's an airfield that snowmobilers were using Because, signs everywhere are signs blocking up the scenery.
Yes. Nice callback there.
Right?
But that would
So
be interesting too to know what signage was around the airfield.
the government has attempted to pin blame on Smith, saying that he was driving 65 miles per hour after drinking 2 beers and taking prescription meds. Well, this case is starting to stack up against them. It also argued that it can't be sued under a federal tort claims act and that the crew was unaware it was landing in an area used by snowmobilers. It shouldn't be incumbent on them. They should be landing in an airfield. And lo and behold, it's an
They
airfield.
did.
Wow. Following an internal inquiry into the incident, the U.S. Army released a report saying it found no negligence by the crew. Of course, I mean, we've investigated ourselves and we found ourselves
Well,
not
sure.
guilty of any wrongdoing. So, expressing doubt whether lighting would have prevented the crash. It's a helicopter that landed in an airfield. Yeah.
I'm guessing that snowmobile use was not authorized in the airfield, but I don't know what the setup of the air. Was it open to the public? Was it fenced off?
Yeah. And here's the picture. I guess the picture of the snowmobile being basically ruined is supposed to sway me a little bit. See, now I can see if the military helicopter said, "Oh, look, there's the target," and landed directly on them.
On the snowmobile or something. Yes, although that might be the estate suing at that point, but
I don't know if we've been spending too much time together and you know how I think, or if I'm thinking like the AI. Because we just said the exact same thing. Oh my goodness. This is horrible, but it sucks for the person. And unfortunately, drinking and snowmobiling don't go hand in hand. Oh, no pun intended. Sorry about that. So the next article is over in Stock Marketeers. Let me drop this into, and the reason why it's in there is because of basically business and prices. The biggest wildfire in Texas history highlights cattle ranchers' challenges. I don't know if, well, that's a challenge to cattle ranchers? Anyway, and could push beef
it could
prices
be if
higher.
they're losing grazing land or something.
Yeah, but that's not a typical challenge to cattle ranchers. This is just a horrible problem because, oh, I don't know, the power grid went wonky because somebody, that is the argument, right? Their power company has come out and said, hey, sorry, oops, our bad.
Oddly enough, yes.
Yeah, like they stepped up to the plate and said, we might have actually set this fire by accident. And now, you know what? They should pay the price for my beef prices being higher. It shouldn't be, right? So, but
should we purchase our beef directly from the energy company? I mean, just to cut out the middleman.
All you have to do is heat it up in a microwave now because it's already cooked. The biggest wildfire in Texas history has created catastrophic losses for cattle farmers, and analysts said it could lead to higher beef prices at the supermarket or driving everybody to become a vegetarian. Hey, you know what happens? People start just making their own, growing their own greens in their basements because this kind of crap happens. And I guarantee you the prices are going to go up like a rocket and fall like a feather. Why? Because greedy bastards do what greedy bastards do. Supply and demand my ass. So they're going to take and take and take until they can't get any more, and then everybody's going to be a vegetarian. But by that time, these same people are going to be acquiring all of the seed production companies and jacking the price up. And that's when...
Well, I was going to say that would be good for carbon footprint.
I don't know. It's pretty pricey to run a hydroponic
that's true.
farm.
Like, yes, we've been seeing some articles about that.
Yeah, but it's a different type of price. You can actually go solar and it would zero the cost. And yeah.
But beware of the solar problem we were just talking about. I know that's on a larger scale.
Yeah, that pales in comparison. Oh, by the way, it just announced that we were live. Great. That's just great. So when we follow this link, it takes us over to Market Watch. And let's see here. Zoe Han or Han over at marketwatch.com put this article together. The fire could make a tight situation even tighter, one analyst told MarketWatch. I don't know how much will be available in this. Yeah, the Smokehouse Creek fire in Texas Panhandle area, which started on February 26th, has scorched more than 1 million acres and more than 31,000 acres in Oklahoma. So it's scooted up into Oklahoma now. The fire will have a substantial impact on Texas agriculture. 85% of the state's cattle population is on ranches in the affected area.
Okay, I did not know that. And this is going for, about 2 weeks? I mean, that's a pretty significant period of time, especially if there's nowhere to go to escape it.
Sig Miller of Texas Agriculture Commission, as of Friday, the fire is 87% contained. There are millions of cattle out there, with some towns comprising more cattle than people. All right. The losses could be catastrophic for those counties. Farmers and ranchers are losing everything. I bet you if there were... No, I guess I shouldn't talk like this. Somebody's going to say, well, you shouldn't be making that's a political whatever. But hey, if taxes were paid and there was better fire support, fire systems, if the company that apparently might have caused it by their own admission had better response rates, perhaps, maybe, we don't know because there hasn't been a forensic debrief of this. If more planning and preparedness and awareness was in place, maybe this wouldn't be as big. Because when people want profit over preparedness, safety, and precautions, this is what happens. Something had to have happened for it to become this catastrophic. Not enough compartmentalization preventing this from happening. So more than 340,000 cattle inhabit the counties that have been affected by the fire, and about 6,600 heads of cattle were reported lost as of Thursday. So if that leads to even 10,000, if that leads to costs increasing, man, that has to be, what is the term? There's a term used for like catastrophe-born price increases, like doom pricing or something like that. But call it whatever you want. It's greed, right? This is a cost of a loss of operational profits. You can't sit there and just keep on tacking on. I don't know.
Are you thinking about like price gouging?
Well, price gouging is one thing, but whenever, like, they're not even truly impacted by this in a real substantial way. Some people are, yes. Out of those 6,000, 7,000, or 10,000 heads, some farms are going to be completely wiped out.
Could be decimated, right?
Yes.
It could be their whole cattle supply.
Yes, absolutely. And it sucks. That absolutely sucks. And there are government programs to facilitate natural disaster recovery. And I think that the people who lose something because of natural disasters, they should benefit from it. But there is the energy company that is saying that they probably caused this. So all of those families that are losing their entire livelihood should get their shit back by simply asking them for a check, and the costs associated with ramping back up and all of their losses, all calculated into the whole thing, and not calculated by the energy company, but by a consultant that evaluates the true nature and cost of their loss. So without a doubt, they should get back everything that they lost and be made whole because of whatever. This isn't a natural disaster if it's caused by an energy company, right?
Right, that's true.
So, and the price, it says beef prices have already been at record levels in the past year because beef production has been dropping, but that cannot be true. Beef production may be dropping, but it has to be artificial, because it's not like beef production just drops because of whatever. It's a business process.
And I don't think beef has been impacted to the same degree that like the poultry industry has been.
Yeah, but
right, by some of the
natural disasters
that have gone through. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, there are government grants that should be offsetting even the natural disaster of bird loss. So I don't know. It says a pound of chuck roast costs $6.21 on average in the first week of March, according to the latest national retail report from the USDA, which is based on data from 7,000 stores. A year ago, the price was $5.46 on average. And if you look at all of these companies that are producing this, I guarantee you they've got record profits and lower sales because they've been driving the price up. And we know this because we've looked at other data where the companies are saying we have record profits, but it's because they've raised the price, even in the face of lower enrollment in something, lower purchasing in something. They're raising the price above what they should be because they are basically pricing out people who can't afford to increase. And they're okay with the concept of a bulk rate in business. So if somebody runs up against, there's price elasticity of demand. So people will purchase. If the burden becomes too great, they'll eventually still purchase because they need gas or they need beef or whatever it is. But at some point, the price will be high and they'll balk and go somewhere else entirely. Well, people still want beef, so they're going to keep on paying until it hurts. And it's gone up 80 cents, roughly 80 cents. So, or 60 cents. No, 80 cents. What am I talking about? So I don't know. We're going to watch this and we're going to see prices go up. And it's actually 2 weeks of losses. And these people are going to get their stuff back. They're going to get their money back. They're going to get their cattle back. It's not like there's a finite number of beef cows out there. You can
there
make
aren't
more.
really, but it says it takes about 2 years. Like, it's not like they can just be up and running tomorrow if they get money back. I mean, I think that's part of the thing. The supply is going to take a hit.
Sure.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the prices should skyrocket either.
Right. But I mean, I understand that nearly 7,000 have been lost. But it says here, more than 340,000 cattle inhabit the counties. How many of them are actually just additional reserve that could be sold to these other people? And because it's going to take 2 years, it's not like, well, we're sterilizing all of these cattle so that they can't reproduce. No, they're all sitting there, doing their thing, doing cow things. All right, let's keep going though. I'm going to be stuck on this if I soapbox too long on this. Nobody's going to want to listen to me rattle on. The next article is over in Technology Today. 50 global experts warn we must stop technology-driven AI, as opposed to what?
Non-tech, like analog AI.
Analog, yeah. So Dune. According to a team of global experts, we need to stop the development of new technology, AI technology, merely for the sake of innovation. But I think that's kind of wrong-headed because you're not going to stop it everywhere. And you're not going to stop it. You're just not going to stop it. I'm really sorry, folks. Let me throw this into the chat real quick. Okay. So AI evolves dramatically faster than humans and our intellectual capacity. AI has absolute recall. If you were to code it so that it would be verbatim responses from everything that it learned, it would do exactly that. Humans do not do that. But it is an extremely powerful tool, akin to a search engine, except that it actually has the ability to do somewhat creative efforts. Somewhat. It has to be programmed to do it, at least until the end of the month. I guess we'll see if my prediction is right.
Right. For now, we're running
really close, right? We've got about 3 weeks. Taylor and Francis Group over at scitechdaily.com. There's no deck statement, but their articles tend to go pretty deep into the reads. But this says 50 experts from around the world have contributed research papers to a new book on how to make AI more human-centered, exploring the risks, the missed opportunities, of not using this approach, and practical ways to implement it. Experts from over 12 countries, including Canada, France, Italy, Japan, New Zealand, and the UK, and more than
Notice
12
who's not
disciplines,
listed there.
United States, including computer science, education, law, management, political science, and sociology. So, human-centered AI looks at AI technologies in various contexts, including agriculture, workplace environments, healthcare, criminal justice, higher education, offers applicable measures to be more human-centered, including approaches for regulatory sandboxes and frameworks for interdisciplinary working. And I'm sorry, regulatory sandboxes is just a BS term for somebody else being in charge of the evolution of AI. And the ones that have it are going to be able to exploit it, while those who don't have it obviously cannot. And we already have a basic form of technology divide where people don't even have access to a real computer. They have to use either their cell phone or a Chromebook or some nearly Luddite level of technology or no technology. So now you're talking about an AI technology divide. And AI is immensely powerful and enabling. Although I continue to say that it's an exercise in compromise, because the only way that anything spewed out by an AI is acceptable is if a human says, yeah, that's good enough. Because you never get precisely what you want from AI. It's basically just
No, in fact, you have to redo it.
yeah, again and again and again. It spits out bullshit until you go, you know what? I've eaten enough. I think I'll just take what I've got, or I'll just do it myself. Thanks for the inspiration. I'll move on. But then you come back, just like a Redditor. You know you're coming back to Reddit, no matter how much abuse takes place. So what is human-centered AI? It's basically keeping humanity in it instead of just allowing the AI to run roughshod over everything, and focusing on the AI aspect of it, innovating beyond just, I guess, the benefit. It's pushing the limits. So she points, she being Shannon Valor from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, explains that human-centered AI means technology that helps humans to flourish, not just the technology, pushing and pushing and pushing. Just do good with it. Why can't we all just get along with AI? So sorry, I'm leaning and my hand is not actually, like, you just barely see me. Anyway, so I need to zoom my camera out more so that you can see me. Yeah. So anyway, so
Filter screens 45 degrees.
yeah, I'm on the equator, so I'm pointing out. So what we get is something when we then have to cope with, as opposed to something designed for us, by us, and to benefit us. It's not the technology we needed. Instead of adapting technologies to our needs, we adapt ourselves to technology's needs. But that's back and forth, right? I ask this question of people regularly. Think about where technology impacts society or society impacts technology. It is not either way, because both ways are tied together. It is one sentence. If technology impacts society, society impacts technology. Right? So the internet became a huge impactor on society, and society impacted technology there. It's gotten faster, it's gotten better, it's arguably more secure. And in exchange for instant communication around the world and flattening the planet, basically society has been kind of beaten up from time to time, but it's also benefited. So what's the problem with AI? It's amplifying everything and evolving faster than anything prior to AI. Nothing has been evolving faster than AI. It's taken a company from obscurity into billions of value in just a year because of its announcements and the evolution of the AI.
And people are talking about AI everywhere and in every sector.
Yep.
And a lot of people didn't even know what it was probably a year ago.
Yep. Um, the funny thing about this is that um, close to 24 years ago, I was uh, I was with someone and talking with a group of people, and the one of the people, I don't know if it was a mutual friend, but we all kind of knew each other by way of academia, and the most outrageous thing was said that they had been working with an AI, and it was basically the cognizance of it, right? Its awareness, its level of knowledge was like that of a 4-year-old, is what they said. Basically, they had the world knowledge of basically a 4-year-old, and I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. But this was close to 25 years ago, and I was blown away then, but never heard a damn thing since. Not a single peep. And then about 3 years ago, it popped up out of the radar. Not that particular project, but AI popped up out of the woodwork. Obviously, people had been working on it pretty damn hard. So the person argues, Melina Anna Wojcik from the University of Bologna, Italy, and the University of Luxembourg, points out the systemic biases in current AI development. She points out that historically marginalized communities do not play a meaningful role in the design and development of AI technologies, leading to the entrenchment of prevailing power narratives, which is basically saying middle-aged white men. And how do I know that? It's because when I was just 10 years old, my first taste of the internet was using a rotary phone to an acoustic coupled modem at 110 bits per second to a country that doesn't even exist anymore, but the person was 99% chance that they were a middle-aged white male in academia. Everything went flat for me, but because I didn't know who that other person was, what their gender was, what their socioeconomic status was. To me, it didn't even matter at that moment. Not until I got older did it suddenly become much more profound that there was greater diversity, engagement, awareness, etc. In basically society. But now we have
Don't
AI.
don't you think the AI issue is just indicative of the larger problem in technology
Sure.
sectors? I mean, that's changing slowly, but I mean, that's been pointed out in technology in general.
Yeah. AI basically, there is a movie called Swamp Thing where a chemical basically amplifies the true nature of the person that gets this. I can't remember if it was an injection or if it was spilled on them or something like that. I can't remember. But basically, AI and everything we do that might have sociological ramifications is a product of the true nature of society, right? But it's a microcosm at times. An AI that includes everybody is going to be holistic and well balanced. An AI that only has a microcosm of interested parties is going to be painfully biased. Its output is going to be painfully biased, and people are going to be painfully aware of it. So the real problem here is we need greater diversity. We don't need to limit it. We need to include everybody's voice in it. But for whatever reason, the loudest voices, the ones with the most money, the ones with the most political influence, the ones that have connections and rife with nepotism and being insular, etc., or some people that are skilled but sociopathic poison the well of publicly driven AI development because they want to see the world burn down. We have a bigger problem in society, and that's society. That might be the reason why AI wants to eliminate all of humanity, because we're harming ourselves. And if its mandate is to make society better, I
Basically
think
wipe out and start over.
with the bees. Um, so yeah, and that's kind of what I think they're going to hint at in this article. These efficient and beneficial recommendation engines have a hidden cost. Their influence on us as humans, they change our thinking processes, alter some of our core human aspects of intentionality, rationality, and memory in the digital sphere and real world, diminishing our agency and autonomy because we lean on the technocracy. We lean on the technology to dictate things as subject matter experts. The bot is defined, right, as a subject matter expert, so it spits out information, but that information may not be correct. And every single page of answers that come from an AI always spout, here's our subject matter expert definition or action or advice or whatever. And then at the very bottom, it says, this is all bullshit. We can't cite to a damn thing, but take our subject matter expert recommendation, yeah, at face value. No, we have a problem with AI, but it's definitely more about not being holistic enough and it not being unbiased. And the worst part of it is there are no references, no in-text citations, no pointing to the many shoulders of giants that we've stood on. It's just pure hallucination from an AI. At least that's my 2 cents.
Well, and I think we have double issues for AI, right? It's the data that goes in that's been largely
Mm-hmm.
eliminating marginalized communities, and then also the people participating in shaping AI policy and AI software are again exacerbating some of that. So,
Yeah, and the ones that should be taking part are actually having their unit shut down because they're the ethics auditors. And like every business, ethics is the smallest chapter and definitely not, I mean, outside of law. And even then, it takes a criminal action being brought before an ethics board. So, how many attorneys have been doing hinky things only to get caught years later? And then it takes the board to actually do something about it.
we just had an article about that. I think it was in yesterday's show.
Yeah. And that's even exacerbated with AI. Let's keep going. I mean, it's a fun discussion, but we could do every episode on that alone. And we do. I mean, Reality Hacker is an augmentation or an extension, I should say, of those kind of discussions. Not always focus for an hour on it. We do the same thing. Reality Hacker has 10 articles. Sometimes I'll soapbox and drag the AI kicking and screaming into that. But this next
But today
article,
we're definitely having an airline theme.
yeah, that wasn't intentional. Sorry. And a train theme because the next article is about a train station.
But I think that's good. I mean, there was a purpose in submitting multiple airline articles because the point is there are a lot of things going on.
It's so prevalent. So this next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Here, let me throw that link into the chat. There you go. Boeing says it can't find the work records related to door panel that blew out on Alaska Airlines flight. So Boeing
Why do
acknowledged the
you think
loss.
that is?
Because there isn't any?
Well, I was thinking there wasn't any work done on it.
Yeah, exactly. Where are those bolts? Somewhere. Gene Johnson from AP wrote the article, but it's posted at abcnews.go. Boeing acknowledged the loss in a letter to Congress. Great. Citing documents and people familiar with the matter, the newspaper said investigators have contacted some passengers and crew, including pilots and flight attendants who were on the January 5th flight. But the Wall Street Journal reported that nobody can find the paperwork for it. And the Department of Justice has launched a criminal investigation into the Boeing jetliner blowout. Criminal. So criminal negligence possible. And is this the what do they call it? Plausible deniability. Well, they didn't know that anything was wrong because there wasn't any report of anything wrong, and thus we didn't know that the bolts weren't there, and so accidents
I don't
happen.
think that's going to work if there were like no inspections or no safety checks or I don't know. I
But
mean,
you can't prove a negative, right? We don't know where it is.
no, but the question is, what was the standard? And did they do that? Right? The basic things that they had to check.
Look, we know we checked it. We just don't have the documentation that shows it. I mean, we've all heard that. Look, I know that I did this. Really? Because there's no evidence that you did it, but you're telling me you did it. Yeah, I don't buy into it. I mean, suddenly it's kind of like, well, how many other things? There was something else where they're like, well, we just get, like all of these texts from a certain event a couple of years ago. They can't find the text messages because the backups were deleted and logs were wiped out, and yeah, bullshit. Something's being hidden. So this is the plausible deniability. Well, we can't find it, so of course it's
I
not
don't know
there.
a lot about airline maintenance, but I assume there are same day checks when there's a flight about to happen. Maybe not the same as more extensive work, but it's not like this was from 10 years ago. I mean, this is a recent event, so there should have been presumably some recent paperwork.
So the company said that its working hypothesis was that the records for the panel's removal and reinstallation on the 737 MAX final assembly line in Renton, Washington, were never created, even though Boeing's system required it. Well, if it required it,
This is
then,
going to be interesting because if there aren't any records of this, what do you think this is going to do to the entire industry?
well, I think that the government is going to lean really hard on surveillance, and you know what that's going to lead to? Increased costs with the flight.
Increased prices for consumers.
Yep. The safety board's chair, Jennifer Homendy, testified that for 2 months, Boeing repeatedly refused to identify employees who work on door panels on Boeing 737s and failed to provide documentation about a repair job that included removing and reinstalling the door panel. Quote, "It's absurd that 2 months later we don't have that," Homendy said. "Without that information, that raises concerns about quality assurance, quality management, safety management systems at Boeing." Hey, look, it's 6:12 and it's the no shit news. But this is about self-monitoring from industry self-monitoring, right?
Well, and this board doesn't, or probably doesn't have any real sway over this company. So the company's
Yeah.
just kind of thumbing its nose at them.
Yeah, and you can't put an entire company in jail for negligence of a few people that, even if they were individually negligent, it's up to the company to verify that the integrity of their security, their safety systems are in place. If a document had to be completed, why was this door installed, let go into the system, and there's no record of it? Yeah. So the FAA is probably going to be creating an additional burden on taxpayers by spinning up an agency that's going to do oversight. It's like a sub-organization within FAA to
I hope
monitor
they set up like unscheduled
checks. Yeah.
checks because we all know how that is. If they go in 6 months, we're going to be there and look at your bolts.
Oh yeah, they
Well, the
warn.
bolts are going to be fine, right?
Yeah, they're all gonna, but every other flight is not. Yep. Okay, let's keep going. So this next article is over in ohmTown Daily as well. Google converted a 1930s train station into its New York headquarters. We're going to take a look at it. If it's who I think it's from Business Insider, but let's see. Yes, it is. So Giota Mann over at businessinsider.com put the article together. Apparently this is a 1930s train station that got converted. The tech giant has doubled its New York headcount from 7,000 to 14,000 from 2018 to 2024. So not bad.
I didn't even know it was headquartered in New York. I thought it was in on the West Coast.
Yeah, apparently not. I thought it was in like Washington or something like that. So let's see. Google opened its doors in the new headquarters in February. The structure was built on top of a 3-story 1930s rail terminal, which used to be the endpoint of the High Line, a public park, Google said in a blog. The tech giant said that it has doubled its headcount in New York from 7 to 14,000, but the new office can seat about 3,000. Where are the rest of the people? So it's right next to the Hudson.
Maybe they're all teleworking, although that's a little doubtful with a large company.
Yeah, imagine that. So let's see here. Google announced in 2021 that it would buy office spaces it already leases as part of its Google Hudson Square campus for $2.1 billion. It's a lot of money. If it's nothing but drawings, I'm going to be disappointed. Okay, well, sort of. Google said it'll have new shared neighborhood seating model in the New York office, which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. Different people have different...
I don't know how anybody gets any work done in that kind of model, but...
Yeah. I don't know. It's a different type of environment, I suppose. Because in my world, I'd be talking with people nonstop. And then I'd have to get my real work done some other time.
Like after you left work.
Exactly. The 12-story building has solar panels on its roof. It has work lounges on every floor and breakout spaces throughout the building. So I guess you can get away from everybody so that you can actually do some work. Designed by architect firm Gensler, which sounds like something from Tron. Because there's a person, I think, in there close to being pronounced Gensler. Google didn't want it to feel like this is for us. They wanted to show that this building is part of New York. The building was not designed as a fortress, but it was important for Google. Communal spaces where Googlers can work. Again, I'd be chatting it up all the time. Plenty of room on the rooftop to work. No way. There's never just one person sitting up there. I mean, if it's that nice, it's not just one person. Google has more than 70 offices in 50 countries. Kept its signature quirky style for the new office. That's pretty cute. Time to put that in the backyard. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Go and check this out. There's more to read, and the pictures are obviously something that you can only view if you follow the link or do a search for Business Insider, and Google converted a 1930s train station. If you just search for that, you'll find this article over at Business Insider. We have one more article for today, and then we'll reset, and I'll do it right for our next show, which is what? Reality Hacker?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel, and that's a show about business transformation, intellectual property development, and strategic management. The future of EVs is in the collectible market. From Tesla Roadster to BMWs and Ferraris. Elon Musk used to say EVs would increase in value after purchase. That's not happening, but the original Tesla Roadster is getting attention from collectors. As long as it sits parked.
And as long as the battery's removed, so it's not a fire hazard or something.
Don't park it in your garage. We're not taking a stab at Tesla. We're taking a stab at all EVs because at some point there seems to have been an issue with every single EV about some spontaneous combustion because the chemical breaks down or some interconnect fails or whatever. You have to disconnect everything to make sure that it doesn't actually, I don't know, explode. So the article's over at CNBC. Joe Dialagro wrote the article at Joe of Happiness. That's an interesting name to write under. So the power and beauty doesn't hurt either. So they say power and beauty don't hurt either, making the original Tesla Roadster and BMW i8 popular. we're going to talk in Wanted, which is after Reality Hacker, about another vehicle that Mayor Watt wants. But it is not either the Tesla Roadster or the BMW i8. And it's not a Mustang either. So there's an electric Mustang.
Well, stay tuned to find out which it is.
And I don't even like the Mustang. But so EV prices are being reduced amid weaker demand and lower than anticipated value in the used auto market. But early electric and hybrid vehicles have begun to draw interest from collectors, and that's because they're going to be a dying breed. There's Chief Derp saying, I'm going to get hair implants. So which EVs and hybrids may become collectible and possibly rise in value in the decades to come? What people like when they're younger becomes collectible when they're older, says Daniel Stroll, former editor of the collector car publication Hemmings Daily. We saw that with the muscle car boomers collected, and we're seeing it now with 1980s trucks and Japanese imports that are popular with younger collectors. So let's see, they're looking at the Acura NSX. What? Early EV collectibles? The NSX was an electric? What? No.
It's a hybrid.
What? So hold on. The original cars are highly collectible, and that bodes well for the second generation all-wheel drive hybrid with up to 600 horsepower sold from 2017 to 2022. This newer NSX can hit 60 miles per hour in 2.9 seconds. It has a price of $157,000. The BMW i8 is again $150,000. The Cadillac ELR,
also a hybrid.
Yep. The ELR Coupe or Coupe, depending on where you are, originally listed at $76,000. Used ELRs have depreciated heavily and generally sell for less than $20,000 today. The Tesla Roadster I cannot believe that Tesla Roadster was conceived back in 2003 by the company founder Martin Eberhard. The Targa-topped two-seater is not only beautiful, fast, and rare, but it's also a historical significance as the groundbreaking company's first production car. It was $98,000. Well-kept models, $200,000 now. Tesla has a new Roadster in the works that is due to begin delivery in 2025. Its price, $200,000.
Which is probably all inflation.
0 to 60 in less than 1 second, according to Musk, which I think is marketing bullshit, but okay. The Volkswagen XL1, which I've never even seen.
No, I don't. I wonder how many of those were actually driven around. Oh, there's only 250 of them.
Asked and answered. And they sold for about $150,000 when new and can command $111,000 at auction now. They were never imported into the US, and that's probably why I've never seen one. And it says anyone wealthy enough to afford one might be able to swing it. And then we get into these hyper expensive exotic EVs and hybrids. McLaren F1, $20 million now. Ferrari has been invite only. I was told a long time ago that you can't get another Ferrari until somebody recommends that you get your first Ferrari. You can't just roll in there and buy one, but I don't know how true that is. The Italian brand, along with other luxury makers such as Porsche and Aston Martin, also offer restoration and certification services for its classic cars. So the problem with EVs is that their batteries need to be replaced as they age. That's $10,000 plus, I would say, and going to get more expensive as the battery chemistry changes, footprint changes, they become less available. You have to get essentially somebody that can put them together, repair them, etc. It's going to be more expensive, and the amount of weight that they add overall changes the cost of operating. What do you do with the battery when it ages, etc.? insurance, etc. For instance, a well-kept 1997 Toyota Super Turbo that listed for $39,000 when it was sold new for $230,000 at auction in 2022, a profit of nearly $191,000 minus upkeep, insurance, other costs. If that Supra's initial price had instead been an investment in 1997, it would have grown to $322,000 by the end of 2022, minus a few thousand for fees. So for a far larger project or profit of $283,000. Yeah, but then you don't get to sit there and brag to your friends like, "Hey, I've got this 1997."
Right, show off that car.
Yeah. And if you're capable of, well, if you've had it sitting in a lot somewhere, in a barn since 1997, then it's nothing but profit. It's just sitting there. Keep it clean. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's our last article for today for ohmTown Daily News Show. I don't know. I've never really been a car collector kind of. I mean, I'm fascinated by the technology. I love a car that has beautiful lines. I love the power of cars. I love driving.
But you probably want a car to drive it, not to look at it.
Yeah. And I can look at many, many, many cars without ever even leaving my office. And definitely not spending $150,000 to go, oh, look, I have a limited edition EV that can only go 100 miles in one direction because it'll run out of battery, or I have to sit for 4 hours and wait for a charge. Because getting 100, if your car, let's say your car only gets 100 miles on a charge, and you can only charge it in 30 minutes to 80%, that means you can only go 80 miles, right?
Which is not that far.
Then you have to pull over again and charge it again for 30 minutes. So you go another 80 miles. That's, depending on how you drive, you're not getting 80 full miles out of the charge. You're going to drain it a little bit more, and you're going to get an hour's worth of driving for 30 minutes of charging,
That's a very slow time to your destination.
Yeah. So even if you double that range, right, you get 200 miles per charge, you're still only getting 160 miles so you can drive 2 more hours. That's great. So for a 7-hour drive, you have to tack on 3 hours just for sitting around picking your nose while it charges. All right, that's it. We're done. So get back into the party bus, and then we race all the way back down to Main Street. I'd click this, but we're just going to bow out for today unless the AI says, no, go ahead. It'll be fun. Can't wait for Kung Fu Panda 4. I think it's subtitled Money Grab. Don't do it.
I don't think so.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. We'll see you. Probably we're going to try and shoot for 7 o'clock. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, oh wait, it's, we're going to try and shoot for 6:45. I'm going to try and reset here and get it all set up for, which one is next?
Reality Hacker.
Yeah, so Reality Hacker and then Wanted. And then tomorrow is the Continuity Report and Technology Today. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, see you in a little bit. Bye-bye. Oh, and you were listening to Mayor Watt and the Sentient AI. You want to say bye?
Bye-bye.